meridian. Now this is an imaginary line. It stretches right across the surface of the Earth in a straight line from the North Pole, which is straight ahead of us in this direction, although we can't quite see it today, I'm afraid. The line stretches all the way down here through Greenwich, right down across the equator, as far as the South Pole on the other side of the world. Now there are an infinite number of these meridians around our Earth. There are countless meridians around our Earth. We can put them wherever we like in a straight line from north to south, but this particular line here, running through Greenwich, and more specifically running through the eyepiece, lined up with the crosshairs in the eyepiece of George Biddell Airy, our 8th Astronomer Royal's telescope, which is still in that room over there for you to see. This particular line here is the one that all others are now measured from. So a very warm welcome to the Royal Observatory Greenwich, the home of Greenwich Mean Time and the world's prime meridian. But why is it here in Greenwich? Why? I hear you all ask. Why? Indeed, I'm glad you asked me that question. I shall endeavour to explain. Now, if we look around us here today, this is now a museum of time and space. But before that, this was a working observatory dedicated to the study of the sun, the moon, the stars. And the reason it was built was to enable ships to sail the seas of the world, to profit through trade, and then to return home safely. In short, to develop the art of global navigation. Now, navigation is the art of finding out where we are in the world, especially if we are at sea. And as a navigator, knowing where you are is far more important than knowing where you're going to. Now, the great early navigators, such legends as Vasco da Gama, Ferdinand Magellan, Francis Drake, Christopher Columbus, these people never knew where they were. In their day, they were able to find their latitude, and their position of latitude would tell them how far north or south on the planet they'd sailed, and they'd known for hundreds of years how to find their latitude. Firstly, by looking at the angle of the sun above the horizon at midday. Equally at night, the angle of the pole star in the northern hemisphere. And incidentally, this silver sculpture over here on the meridian points directly to the pole star. Or in the southern hemisphere, the angle of the Southern Cross and related stars. And that angle would tell these ship's captains exactly how many degrees from the equator they were. Very easy. But they had no accurate method by which they could measure their longitude. In other words, they were never certain as to how far east or west they'd sailed once they'd lost sight of land. And make no mistake, these great early navigators were extremely lucky to return home alive. In their day, thousands of ships, tens of thousands of sailors and millions of tons of cargo were annually lost at sea, sunk without trace, because the captains of those ships did not know where they were. They sailed more by guesswork than good judgment. Now, what I'd like to do with your help here is a quick demonstration to explain the art of global navigation. And I am going to need the kind help of a volunteer, ladies and gentlemen, who we could, well done, who'd like to be our ship's captain. If you'd like to hang on to our ship for dear life there, and join me just over here to my right, because we'll be using this space over here in just a moment. Now, ladies and gentlemen, may I present our brave ship's captain? Aye, aye, skipper. Aye, aye. Now, she's somewhere on the 7 seas of the world. She's trying to find her way home. Now, the first piece of information that she needs, the first thing she needs to know in order to begin to navigate successfully is her local time. First of all, she must find out exactly what time it is wherever she is in the world. Now, she can do this fairly easily, especially on a day like today, by looking to the sun. Because when the sun reaches its highest point in the sky each day, when it reaches the zenith of its arc across the sky, we know for certain that it is 12 o'clock noon, 12 o'clock midday, no matter where we are in the world. So you can tell your local time by the sun. Okay, now the next piece of information she needs to know the exact position of one or more very specific stars, predetermined stars in the night sky and their position in the sky relative to the moon. I'll need a couple more volunteers in the middle here. Who'll be good enough to hold the stars? No star for us? Okay. Would you take one? Well done. If you two could just stand there and hold those stars aloft